with these few tips, right? With these few tips that I'm gonna give you, or just some perspective that I'm gonna give you, right? Hopefully, it's gonna be the key, right, to make you successful. And I'm not sitting here as a, as a person who, you know, yeah, I'm not sitting here as like a person who doesn't know, and I'm just telling you what it is, right? Because you know, at one point, right, in my life, I was influenced, by what society deems as success, right? And so I remember, like, even when I was in college, right, I was like, man, I have to finish school. I have to, because that was my understanding of success, right? Like, I was like, I have to finish school, and like, I have to get a career, and I have to do this, right? And in my head, that was what society told me was success, right? And so, even though that is one way or one avenue of success, right? But there's different, as I should say, there's different interpretations, right? Like different meanings or different ways of being successful, right? Like, yeah, school is one way of being successful, right? In the sense that, after school, you should hopefully get a career, and then you should, yeah, you should have a career, and that's success, right? Whereas for someone else, right, they could find success in doing something that they really find joy in, right? Something that they really find passion in, right? And to them, that's success, right? Someone else, like for me, for example, right? If you ask me personally, what is your definition of success, right? If you ask me personally, like, what is your definition of success, right? I'll tell you, right? My definition of success, you know, I look at it. I look at it in different ways, right? I look at it in, for example, in terms of spiritual success, right? That's number one for me, right? If I can make sure that I pray at least 5 times a day, that's success to me, right? On a spiritual side, right? On a spiritual side, that is success to me, right? Making sure that I'm right with God, right? Making sure that, I'm not transgressing God, right? That is success to me, right? That's where, that's, without that, right? Without my spirituality, nothing else would give me that feeling of success, right? First and foremost is spirituality. If I can make sure, like I said, if I can make sure that I pray 5 times a day, at least 5 times a day, that's success, right? If I can, especially Isha before you go to bed, and Fajr, that's the two hardest, that's for me at least, that's the two hardest prayers, right? The before you go to bed, Isha and Fajr, right? But this is on the spiritual side, right? And then, yeah, there's success when it comes to, you know, let's say, having a source of income, right? Because, reality of the fact, right? As much as, people will say that, yeah, money, like I look at it like there's two extremes, right? There's two extremes to people, right? One extreme is that people say money is all that matters, right? Money is the goal, right? Like they say money is the motivation, right? Like money is the motivation. So there's people out there that live their lives with just that idea, right? Where money is the motivation. Money is success, right? That's one extreme, right? Another extreme is people that say, money does not matter, yeah, you just got to do whatever you like. Money doesn't matter, right? That's another extreme too, right? Because, to be honest, in the environment and the society that we live in, right, you have to be able to make money, right? And to be clear, right, you don't necessarily have to be a millionaire, right? You don't have to live a lavish lifestyle, right? You don't have to buy a house. You don't have to own a house, right? If you can buy a house and you can afford it, you can pay up front, go for it, right? But, at least the way I see it, right? When it comes to financial success, right? If you ask me personally, right? Like what is your financial success to you, right? For me, I would say number one, flexibility, right? I want to be able to live a life, right? And earn a living that is flexible, right? Where, you know, that I'm not being told that I have to come in this time, that I have to get out this time, right? The type of person I am, right? I like to have control of my time, right? I like to have control of my environment. I like to have control of just myself, right? And so when someone else tells me that I have to come in this time, I have to get out this time, right? That to me, right? Especially where I am right now, I find that to be a problem, right? Because for me, right, I wanna control my time, right? I wanna involve. I don't know how I should say, but I want my time to revolve around my religion, right? My spirituality, I should say, right? And so for me, like I said, spirituality is number one, right? Making sure my prayers are set is number one, right? Making sure that I'm earning good deeds, right? That's priority, right? Making sure that I'm helping people, right? So this all falls under the umbrella of spirituality, right? And so when it comes to earning a living, right? Like I said, everyone has to earn a living, right? Like that's we live in an environment where, to have a roof over your head, you gotta have you have to earn, right? And so, yeah, like I said, right? Financial success for me is not being a millionaire, right? For me, it's flexibility, right? Having control of my time, right? And that's why, like, even for those young people, right? There's a lot of like, let's say, young people, right now, let's say, for whatever reason, people say like, oh, you gotta, if that's the case, you gotta be an entrepreneur, right? um you know you don't necessarily have to, you know yeah, that's the goal, right? Like, you know being an entrepreneur is the aim, right? But sometimes that takes time, right? Like, you're not gonna be an entrepreneur overnight, right? Sometimes it'll have to take time and dedication, and just, yeah, like, it's gonna take time, right? And so for those young people, right, um that wanna, that are probably watching this, and like, they're like, yeah, I'm tired of my job, right? Like, I'm tired of working a job where, I have to go in this time, I have to get out this time, right? I've did my research, right? And I've actually, looked around and at, like, jobs and stuff, right? And a few jobs, I would say, right, that I would highly recommend for those young people that are also like, who I like, that are also like me, right? That want to have flexibility, right? For me, flexibility is number one, right? Being able to, like, wake up. Let's say if I wake up Fajr, right? Sometimes I want to go to sleep after, right? I might be tired. I want to go sleep after. Sometimes, let's say I wake up after I pray Fajr. Sometimes, I don't want to necessarily get ready for work, right? Like, I don't want to necessarily take a shower right away, right? Like, I might want to just relax a bit, right? If you have family, you might want to spend time with your family, right? And so, yeah, for me, that's what I mean by flexibility, right? And then let's say around like 10, 11, right? Or whatever you want. Let's say you want to go to work, right? And so this is what I mean when I say flexibility, right? Is the idea that, it's not the money that's the goal, is the flexibility, right? The idea that you're in control of your time, right? And for me, I would also say that falls under the umbrella of financial success, right? Is being able to earn a living, but also having a sense of flexibility, right? Like I said, you don't have to be a millionaire, right? Yeah, you don't have to be a millionaire, or what society sees as success, right? To buy a big house, have nice cars. Like, that's, to me at least, that's not success, right? I know sometimes society tells us this is success, right? I know sometimes society tells us, hey, this is what success is. If you don't have this, then you're not successful, right? But for me personally, right, just me exploring and knowing really who I am, right? Finding God, having a sense, finding spirituality, finding God. I've come to the idea that, for me, is ultimately flexibility, right? Is flexibility. That's for me, right? Making my time, being in control of my time, you know, yeah, and spending my days, you know, with number one, spirituality, right? With God. And then, like I said, you have to earn a living, right? To be able to live in an apartment, to be able to, you know, you have to earn a living, right? To pay car insurance, whatever. You have to earn, right? And so, but yeah, I've been doing a lot of research in terms of jobs, and for those that are, like I said, looking for a flexibility, right? You might right now you might not be in a place of entrepreneurship, right? You might still be young, you still might be working on your passion. You might be working on whatever you're working on, and that's gonna take time, right? And so, a job right now, like I've been looking around and like, I've been having interest in it as well, right? But few jobs I would say that's very flexible, right? For those young people, right? That do want flexibility. Um, I would highly recommend for those that never heard of it, but it's Grubhub, right? Grubhub is basically a car delivery service, right? Where you basically get orders, and you start delivering food from a restaurant, let's say, to a house, right? So let's say people might order fast food, right? They might order McDonald's, or they might order like just a bunch of fast foods, right? And so basically you're the driver, and you drive and you pick up these orders and you drop them at homes, right? And yeah, you basically just drop the orders off, right? In people's homes, right? And yeah, that's pretty flexible, right? Another job I was looking into DoorDash, right? Grubhub, DoorDash. I think this is basically the same. DoorDash is the same as Grubhub. Um, but yeah, I would say maybe Grubhub is more, I guess it has more exposure. Um, I didn't really look into like the details of it. Grubhub is more. I've heard from someone, Grubhub is more like big businesses, or like, I don't know, like it's more, and it also has more commercials. It has more advertisement, I guess. Um, Again, you would have to you would have to look into that, but you know, it basically is the same. DoorDash, Grubhub, um, Instacart is different in the sense that instead of delivering fast foods, you're delivering groceries, right? So you might go to like grocery stores, and people might order groceries, and you just go pick up the groceries from the store, and then you just take it to the homes, right? And so basically what I was getting at was these jobs are flexible, right? It's not, you're not like, yeah, we think of like, when we think of like, flexibility, like I said, we think of like entrepreneurship, right? But these jobs in a way is like you're your own boss, right? You clock in whatever you want, whenever you want, right? um you clock in whenever you want, you deliver whenever you want, right? And yeah, and you can earn as much as you want, right? And it's dependent on you, right? Let's say if you were to work at a restaurant, right? Let's say you make $8 minimum wage an hour, right? Here you can make, like, depending on you, right? Depending on how much you want to deliver, right? Depending on how much, yeah, like how much you want to deliver. It all depends on you, right? It depends on you at the end of the day, and how much you deliver, and that's how much you'll end up making. And so, and the good thing about it, I was also reading up on it, was that you can earn the same day, right? Like you could earn money the same day. Like you don't have to wait a week or 2 weeks to get your paycheck, right? You earn on the spot, and yeah, you basically earn on the spot, right? And so, like I was saying, right, like these jobs are very flexible, right, for those young people that like for me, right, when you like I said, when you ask me what is success to you, right, for me, spirituality is number one, right? Being right with God, making sure that I'm pleasing God, making sure that my 5 prayers are good, right? This is success to me, right? And then I said, right, like there's also a financial success, right, in the sense that like I said, I know society tells us that you have to make a certain amount of money or have certain things to be successful, right? But to me, that's not success, right? Like for me, I don't base my success on society, right? I base it on myself, right? Money, yeah, it's cool if you can make a lot of money, right? But at the same time still have flexibility, go for it, right? Like if you can have your own business, right? If you can have your own business and have flexibility and make money, why not, right? Who would say no to that, right? But like I said, for me it's flexibility, right? And then there's also like other yeah, I guess for me that's and also I would include like but I think it falls under spirituality, right? For me, I always try to help people in any way possible, right? If you can and that's success too, right? For me at least, like me, like living my life in a way that's serving, right? Like I don't want to live my life always just taking, right? Like always just me, right? Like I want to also like help people, right? Like I want to give back. And that's why I also made this YouTube as well, right? Like this is for me to be able to reach out to people and just to help people in any aspect of their life, right? And so if I can do that, my day is good, right? Sometimes they say when you help others, you help yourself, right? Like when you help others, God helps you, right? It's sort of like that. It's like when you spend your day being in the service of other people, in return, right, you find a sense of fulfillment, right? And that's, for me, that's also success, right? Like being fulfilled, right? It's not about, making tons of money, right? Like, yeah, you make tons of money, but at the end, you're not fulfilled, right? Like, let's say all that much money, you made it just by serving yourself, right? Like that's not well, for me at least, that's not success, right? For me, being fulfilled is success, right? Having control of my time and having flexibility, right? That's success, right? Like I said, earning a living, right? Like nowadays we live in a society where you have to earn, right? And earning, like I said, these jobs, like for example, I was looking up Grubhub, these sort of delivery services, right? Like these are good flexible jobs, right? Like it gives you, you earn, right? And at the same time, you're also like, you could even turn that like a job into a passion, right? In the sense that it ties into your purpose, right? Like, for example, like let's say right now, my purpose, like let's say I know my purpose, right? Let's say I know my purpose in this world is to worship God, right? Like that's my sole purpose, right? My sole purpose on this earth is to worship God, right? And worship, like I said before, right? Worship is not just praying 24/7, right? Worship, you can turn things into worship, right? For example, like your work could be an ibadah, right? Like it can be a form of worship. Like it all depends on your intentions, right? Like right now you could be working and, at the same time you could be worshiping God while you're working, right? With the right intentions, right? If you know why you're doing the work you're doing, and it ties to your purpose to worship God, right? That will give you fulfillment, right? Like that will give you fulfillment. That would give you a sense of, man, like, yeah, like I'm actually, and that's why, like, even when it comes to jobs, right? I like jobs that are service, like, jobs that are also service type of jobs, right? Um, where you're basically serving people, right? That's why like I said, I was looking up these jobs, right? With Grubhub and these food services, right? These are basically services, right? You're serving people. Like when you, like, just imagine, like when you take food to someone's home, right? Um, that feeling you get, like, I just brought food to someone, right? I mean, you might not think about it, right? You might not think about it when you're doing it, but just imagine, like, actually, like, yeah, like, just think about it, right? Like at the time when you're doing it, you're not thinking about it, but just in hindsight, or just kind of reflecting right now, just think about it, right? Like you're taking food to people's home, right? People that need food, right? People that can't afford to make food, right? For whatever reason, you're making their life easier now, right? Um, they could be at work, they might need somebody to bring food for them, right? They're hungry, they're starving, and now you're the one that's bringing them food, right? And at the same time, you're earning, and at the same time is fulfilling your purpose, right? And at the same time is also flexible, right? And so that's what, and for me, like I said, spirituality, like God is the center of my life, and now I put everything around God, right? Like, it's like, God is the center of my life, is in the center of my life, and everything else is secondary, right? And so I put everything else around God, right? And so, like I said, like when you earn, you can turn that into worship, right? You can turn that into, into worship, right? Into like helping people, right? And that's success, right? Fulfillment, being fulfilled at the end is success, right? As like I said, we live in a society where, they tell us, be a millionaire, that's success, right? They say, have the nicest car, that's success. Have the most beautiful woman, that's success, right? Like society tells you these things, right? And a lot of people, unfortunately, they fall victim to this, right? They fall victim to the idea of society and what society tells them, right? And so you have a lot of people that are unsatisfied with life, right? Like they're unsatisfied. They might be in their 30s, unsatisfied. Is because they're basing their success on society, right? They're basing their success on other people, right? They're looking at other people and they're basing their own success on how they are compared to other people, right? And so that's why you have a lot of people that are unfortunately very unhappy, right? They're very unfulfilled, right? Because they're looking towards society instead of God, right? Like if you make God the center of your life, if you work on yourself internally and you're content with, you will find contentment when you find God. You'll feel whole when you find God, right? You will know your purpose. You'll know why you're here on this earth. Now everything else will work around that, right? Like, and everything will work out, right? It's like once you find your purpose of this life, right? Once you find that contentment, right? Once you find that wholeness, right? Now you can basically let everything else work, like it will go align with your purpose, right? Of God, right? Let's say God is your purpose. Worshiping God is your purpose. Now everything else, it will come aligned. Like you eventually, like I said, the reason why I even came with the idea of flexibility, right? Like is the idea that, the reason why I said that success to me, right, is also flexibility. And I'm talking about in the financial sense, is because, when you, like I said, when you focus on God and let's say right now, like my focus is God, right? Making sure I pray, making sure I earn good deeds by helping people, right? Now, like I'll put everything to that, right? Like if I have my focus, my center of focus, my worship, right? Now it's like, for example, I'll find jobs that are very flexible, right? And I'll also know myself, right? Like I'll know myself, and now I'll look for jobs that work according to me, right? I'm not working according to the boss, right? Like I'm looking for a job that works for me, right? Because I know myself, right? I'm not gonna, how many, you'd be surprised like how many jobs I worked before and I just hated those jobs, right? It's because, one thing about me, right? Like knowing, like again, it goes back to knowing yourself. I noticed with myself that I don't like being told, I don't like bosses. I'll be honest, right? Like, especially in the society we live in, where a lot of the bosses, they're lacking emotional intelligence, right? They're lacking understanding. A lot of them, they don't know how to speak to their employees, right? And so, yeah, I don't like bosses, right? That's number one. And number two, I don't like working with people, right? Um, and the reason I say that, right? The reason I say I don't like working with people, I like people. I'm not, I'm not gonna say I don't like people. I like people, but when it comes to the working environment, right? You're working with people that, who knows what they're going through in their private life, right? A lot of people are coming to work. Some people, they might have personal issues, right? And then the problem is they bring that to their job, right? And now, you being around these people, right? And they're bringing their issues to work. Now it's indirectly affecting you, right? And now you get caught up in he say, she say, or you just get caught up in unnecessary things, which for me, I could deal with it, right? I could deal with things, but if I don't have to, I'm not going to deal with it, right? Like in this case, I don't have to deal with workers, right? Like I don't have to deal with it's not a matter of life and death, right? It's not like, for example, your family, right? Like your family, you have to deal with your family, right? Like there's no escaping your family, right? But you working in a working environment with people, you don't have to work there, right? Like I said, there's other jobs out there where you don't necessarily have to work with people, right? Yeah, there's other jobs, right? That you don't have to work with people. So, like I said, in this case where I don't have to work with people, I'd much rather not work with people, right? I'd rather just, like I said, be about my own space, have control of my environment. And again, it goes back to having control of your environment, right? In a working environment or a working space where you have to work with these people, right? You have no control over the environment, right? You have no control over what people say, right? How people feel, right? You have no control over these things, right? And so in this case, it's gonna be you working tirelessly trying to, yeah, you're gonna have to, I mean, it's doable, right? Like there's a lot of people that work with other employees that, there's people out there that work with other people, work associates, right? And they're able to do it, right? Like they're able to do it. But for me, it's like, if I don't, like I said, if I don't have to, I'd much rather not to, right? If I don't have to, I'd rather not, I'd rather not. And so, again, right? I don't know where I was going with this, but yeah, like I said, right? The bosses, like I don't like, especially based on my experiences, right? I've had, I've had one, maybe two, situations where, I just didn't like, how they treat, like, especially the managers and just the upper management, how they treat their employees, right? And we live in a society where it's very, demanding, right? The demands are high, right? So and at the same time, managers are not emotionally intelligent enough to know that their employees cannot handle all this much work, right? It's like they expect the employees to become like robots, right? And so again, they lack emotional intelligence, right? And I don't blame them, because it's like they also have upper management looking at them, you know, um yeah, upper management, that's basically looking at them and their success, right, when it comes to their employees and stuff. So it's all, you know, it's all working together. But with me, right, like, to go back to what I was saying, like I said, I'd rather have control of my time. I'd rather have flexibility. Um, you know, and then that's why, like I said, I was looking at these jobs with like Grubhub and like Instacart and like DoorDash and these sort of things, right? And I feel like it would suit me, you know, to be honest. And I'm sure it would suit a lot of young men too, right? You know, because the thing, like, I know there's a lot of people that can relate to me. A lot of young men, you know, that hate, you know, the working environment, right? And so just with me in my experience, right, I've come to realize that, you know, flexibility is very important, right? You know, being able to have control of your time, right, and not allow other people to control your time, right? Um, and again, right, it's about knowing yourself, right? You know, knowing, again, like, why are you here? Like, what's your purpose on this earth, right? This is, you know, this is a journey that everybody has to take, right? You know, of finding God, right? But the I would say the quicker you find God, the better it is, right? The easier life gets. You know, the easier you'll be able to adapt to your environment. Like, the easier you'll be able to be successful in your environment, right? You know, we talk about success, right? You know, but, you know, success could also include, you know, like, being successful in your environment, right? Being able to navigate in your environment, right? That's success, right? You know, even though there's all these system in place, right? You're able to navigate through it, right? In a way that works for you, right? That's success, right? You know, making sure your dean, you know, your religion, make sure God is the center of your life, right? That's success, right? Not missing one prayer, right? That's success. Waking up every day, you know, having control of your time, right? That's success, right? You know, earning a living, right? Um, that's success, right? Earning a living, and at the same time, I would also include flexibility with that, right? Not just earning a living, because, like, you know, there's plenty of jobs, like I said, that are, you know, that are horrible, right? But you earn a living, right, with flexibility, right? Um, you know, and yeah, that's my definition of success, you know. You know, having one day having a family, right? Being able to be a person of service, right? Being a person who likes to serve people, right? That's success, right? Being a person who's fulfilled in life, right? Who finds fulfillment in life, right? That's success, right? Working on something, doing something that you passionately like, that you enjoy, right? That's success, right? Um, and yeah, you should always have some, like, to also include, right? You should also have something on the side that you're working on, right? Um, you know, something on the side. Let's say right now you're earning a living, right? You know, but you should have something, like, you should be studying on the side, right? You know, for young men, if you know, we live in a society, right, where, you know, it's very important that you know, you have, especially with the standard of living, right? The standard of living is going higher, right? So you don't always want to depend on, you know, let's say these kind of jobs like Grubhub or DoorDash. Like, you don't want to always, yeah, for the moment, right? This is good. You could make a living right now doing these jobs. You know, depending on you. But at the same time, you know, I'm sure you, like, let's say standard of living might go higher, right? So you also want to have something on the side, right? That, or you want to have multiple incomes, right? Um, you know, so, you know, having, maybe going to school on the side, right? Maybe having a skill, right, on the side, going to school, um, you know, getting a skill from, you know, in terms of, let's say, a business, right? Going to school. I know we focus on, you know, doctors and lawyers, right? But you could also, gain skills in other areas too, right? You know, yeah, and coming out of school with a skill, something that you're good at, right? And that you can turn that into, you know, income, right? And that's the goal, right? But yeah, I know this video is getting long. I try, I try to make my videos short, but sometimes, I just go over the time. But yeah, yeah, I hope that helped. Let me know, guys, if you guys would want to see a part two, or if you guys would want me to expand more on something, or if you guys have any questions, just shoot me a message. Yeah, just shoot me a message. My Instagram is gonna be in the description box. So, if you need help with any, like, any area in your life, um, yeah, just shoot me a message, and um, I'll try to help you on that. But yeah, take care, guys.